Hello and welcome to Journey Through the Eyes, the EMDR podcast that is here to unveil and explore the transformative power of EMDR therapy. Here at Journey Through the Eyes, our mission is to support both the new and seasoned clinicians with the critical conversations and resources about EMDR therapy and powerful ways that you can build your online powerful private practice. And so I'm one of your hosts. I'm Tamera J. Brown, licensed professional counselor and certified EMDR therapist with Arise Psychotherapy and Coaching Services, located here in the beautiful city of San Antonio, Texas. And friends, I have with me my amazing co-host, Miss Kathy on the couch.
I am Kathy Couch. I am your co-host here at the Journey Through the Eyes podcast, and we're so excited to be here today. Today, we have an amazing guest, Arvind. You're going to have to say your last name for us. I apologize. And he is from Kajabi. And so Kajabi is our platform that we use for our podcast, our marketing. And I actually was on a call with him in regards to the app that we're launching. And what I loved about Arvind was that he just got the vision. Sometimes with what I'm doing at Rewired 360, people don't kind of conceptualize it very quickly. And he just shot it right back to me and told me I'm going to be a global leader. And so he's an entrepreneur, it sounds like, at heart. He's founded Aquapulsar Engineering and brought to market the aftermarket spark amplifier, and that improved horsepower, torque, and mileage for spark ignited combustion engines, cars, and trucks. He founded Splash Tag, an Instagram meets Groupon mobile app that allows businesses to launch promotional marketing campaigns in under 60 seconds. I think that's amazing. He's an early product leader on the Alexa project. He's part of the self-driving program at Uber. For Ray to FinTech, making impact money through micro movement and credit applications. But the most exciting thing is he's with Kajabi now. And so what I love about this conversation, I love what Kajabi does. I love the culture. They call us heroes. And I think that's so important as a recipient of the platform. So Arvind, I just kind of would like to let you describe your journey sort of in this entrepreneurship and how you ended up at Kajabi, just kind of to start kicking us off.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that intro, Kathy. My name is Arvind Srinivasan. I'm the head of monetization at Kajabi. I haven't been here for a whole lot of time, but been here enough to know that Kajabi is a bunch of capable people who are passionate about creators and entrepreneurs, and for anyone who is ambitious and driven to get to where they're going, right? And we're helping you in the process. Prior to this, I think you shot out a long list of the things that I've done and places I've been. I'd like to think that we're all on a journey, and my journey, I'm grateful for, and thankfully it's led me to places that have enriched my experience. And everywhere, the next place I go, I just take that rich experience with me and contribute and try to put my dent on the universe, right? After all, why are we all here?
Yeah, I'm really curious. I've been sort of hearing a lot about stories and ways that we can bring stories into our practices. I'm curious if you kind of could capture all of your training and experience in sort of a story to where you are now. How would you describe that story, or what story would you tell about that?
We could tell many stories, and the same content can be told in so many different ways and perspectives, right? And
Right.
The way I like to tell the story of my journey is it's all about learning, and really I've gotten most of my learnings from three buckets, if you will, right? One bucket, all of my entrepreneurial sort of endeavors. Certainly, wasn't lack of trying that you haven't, none of those ventures are like a household name today, but, there's a ton of learnings, and I'm sure you both can relate to that. There is going at it all yourself can be very daunting, and then mustering the courage and sort of the gumption to go at it, and regardless of the outcome, right? And I think the learning there for me is like being successful, being famous, or getting rich, and all of these things are fantastic outcomes, but not the right intentions to go after, what you're really going after. I think like those intentions need to
Yeah.
be more of how you can help solve a very unique problem that many people have, right? Like I think that is the challenge, and solving it in a way that kind of is right along the path that they're walking, right? Like so that's sort of what I've learned. Tons of battle scars from my entrepreneurial ventures, and then the second bucket, if you will, is sort of like very seasoned corporations. And I spent a long time at IBM, and I would peg IBM in the Corporation 1.0 world. Very innovation. They've been innovating since the 40s.
Yeah, right.
And
That's
and,
so yeah.
Exactly, and like in the face of innovation has changed, and they've kind of somehow managed to stay relevant through the decades. I think like I started my career straight out of college at IBM. Had the good fortune of working alongside some very smart people, and learned how to build things as an engineer. How to build things that stay built, that don't break and fall down. I think like that's important. And the sort of like 2.0 large corporations that I've been at, like Amazon was certainly one of them. And it's a large corporation, but definitely a different breed than IBM. And then at Uber, where which is also in the 2.0 realm, but very different from Amazon. The cultures are very different. The energy as you walk into the buildings and stroll the corridors is very different, and that kind of shapes who you become and what you do on the day to day. And at least it did for me, as I was a contributor there. And the third bucket, if you will, is like something that's in between, starting at zero, and then these mega corporations that are, giants in their own right. These companies that are, in the middle. So think Series A through C, venture-backed startups, where in some cases, they've built a product that is still looking for that product market fit.
Right.
And then I've also worked at places where that product market fit is so apparent, and it's such a force of nature that the company is just like struggling to keep up with the demand and the pull that comes from solving a real problem for real people, right? So the learnings from all of these are very different. You have to almost like mold yourself into a different personality to enjoy and be productive and successful at these very different companies.
Yeah, Tamera, turn that over to you. I know you probably have a lot of juicy content there.
I do. I think what you're sharing, Arvind, is incredible. One thing that I am very much so appreciating is just your humanness in sharing your journey. And you used a word that I think is so powerful, right? Well, several, and just talking about the evolution and these different journeys that we're all on as human beings, and just trying to find especially as entrepreneurs, right? Just trying to find our footing, and we're traveling down all these paths. And I loved how you talked about the journey, right? And then you talked about how so many of us just as human beings, just doing a human thing, right? We got our aims. Some people looking for the fame, some people are looking for, the bag, as we say, and all the things. But one thing that I love that you said, and I sincerely mean this, is you pointed us in a whole different direction and saying, okay, if that's where you're going, okay, but let's look at the intention, because intentions are really where it's at. And with the work that you're doing now and just all the value that you're talking about, right? About getting out here and trying to do these great and amazing things. And for us as therapists, and I'm sure you've probably come across, seen a lot of us, right, coming through. And how Kathy was talking about your community at Kajabi sees us as heroes, and I do. I believe that everybody in the journey of life, heroes in their own way. Now that we're here at this time that we are here, and my star is COVID, and how COVID has transformed the way we're doing life and business. And Kajabi, I can remember Arvind seeing Kajabi all over the place with and other things like Mighty Networks, Teachable, and everything. What I would love to hear you share is, with all these evolving in innovative ways, what would you say for the therapist who's trying to find their footing in their community on what you believe and know to be true, that Kajabi makes Kajabi a good fit, right? You know how we be looking for good fit clients. Okay,
Mhm.
but what would you say makes Kajabi a good fit for a therapist who's trying to build their online presence at this time?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is the question when it comes
Yeah.
to the heroes, right? Like, and we do call them heroes because, you know, just starting on that journey makes you a hero, because you have to be brave. You have to go out there, put yourself out there in the world. I certainly, I, I aspire to do that, but I don't think I can, right? Like, so I'm not a hero yet, but someday.
Oh,
And I think speaking of like what makes, I'll start with what makes successful heroes, and then how Kajabi can sort of like be that platform for them, right? Um, Ultimately, I go back to solving a problem for people, right? And I think, like, as therapists, I don't think anything needs to be said. You are solving a very clear problem. The need is greater than ever. And the only, like, the problem, in sort of meeting that, the demand that's on the other side, is just that, there is the discovery of, where the demand meets the supply is where, the mismatch is, right? So I think, like, that's where, it's all about, like, getting that snowball growing. You start with start with the ones and twos. You start with the people that you meet in the soccer field in your kid's game, for instance, right? Like, I've certainly, found, like, consulting gigs in the past, like, just randomly striking conversations, and you never know. And this is all part of the journey. It's in some cosmic way, it'll all work out. Um, and I think it's about being genuine. And it's the personality that really strikes a chord with your community, essentially, right? They buy into your brand, which is, if you are a solopreneur, hero, it's essentially your personality, right? Like, at least at the very, very beginning. um, and it is how the clients see their story in your story, sort of thing, right? Like, and how you're able to relate and stuff. So I think, like, there's no two ways about this. You have to solve a problem for your client, And, maybe that starts, and this journey is, different for different people. But I think like the unifying fact here is that it starts small, right? When you're first starting out. Let's not get swayed about, with like all this virality and other things that people talk about, because that's not reality, right? Your reality is you're starting small with ones and twos. You're really making a difference in people's lives. And then, so how does Kajabi help in that first to help you take those first steps? We have a coaching product, right? Our coaching product makes it easy for heroes to engage with their potential clients and say like, hey, here's something that you can very easily purchase and schedule and get value out of. The friction between where that value is and actually getting that value needs to be minimal. And at Kajabi, that's one of the things we do is to make it as easy as possible for both parties, for heroes to set up this coaching product, if you will, and for their clients to very easily purchase and engage after that. And you do say you've started this, right? Like you created your website, you're out there in the digital universe. You now have a coaching program, and you're open for business, and people are out there. You're meeting people, on the soccer field, like we started, and you just say like, "Hey, go check my website out," and you've poured your heart out on the website. You're telling the world who you are, what you stand for. And they're starting to understand that brand and that personality, and then they go in and sort of like engage. Okay, maybe. And here, what I will say, and we can come back to this at some point later in this talk, is the pricing of how you price and the value that your clients get. That is a little bit of a science and an art, and I think it's helpful if you understand the science behind it, because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to sort of sprinkle it with some of your intuition and art there as well, right? So you've got your website, you've got your coaching product out there, and you've got your first few clients. Now, what do? These people love you, and they love the value you're providing in their lives. And now it's time for you to say like, hey, why don't we get people like you together in a community and continue to extract value from sort of the community and the network. And the network essentially is a reflection of you and your personality and your brand, right? So really, it is their surrogate to engaging directly with you, right? So I think like that's where the community becomes a powerful concept, and now putting your business hat on, the community now becomes your your retention driver or stickiness driver, right? Like so what that means is essentially when you've got people through the front door, now you want them to stay in the building, so that the next time you think of another product, you don't have to go outside the building and like get a bunch of people in again. Like you have a captive audience to market to, right? And because they've gotten value from you once and they continue to get this value from the community, they're going to consume any additional value you put out there, right?
I wanted to chime in here for just a second. Just, as I'm kind of going through my journey, looking at a platform, to deliver the services and trainings and products. What I love is that I've compared a lot, of different products with Thinkific and Mighty Networks, and then I found Kajabi, and I'm like, this really can't be real, this idea of having everything all in one place. But what really kind of you're talking about the sticky factor is calling us heroes. And I think what I'm curious about is, you've talked about sort of these cultures with like IBM and Amazon and Uber, and they have a different kind of feel. I'm curious to hear from you, how is that culture sort of internally in the company you're at Kajabi, and how does that fuel what you do in your day-to-day life there as what do they call you? We call us heroes. What do they call you? Hero experts? I don't know.
Hero makers.
Hero maker. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the the thing that unites us all at Kajabi is the fact that we love making heroes, right? And we are constantly thinking about how to make heroes successful. And it is the bond that unites us all within the company. And that's, every job function there is, right? When I'm thinking about, monetization is about like, how do we make money together, right? And so I'm constantly thinking about blueprints and recipes of like, hey, what if, we did this where you could post an ad here and then that ad tracks to this funnel and, that funnel converts at this rate. And if you price the thing just right, then there is, we've got a little bit of a wind tunnel effect and, we can suck a lot of people in through this funnel, right? It's and the guiding principles behind it all start with how can we help heroes like get that 1% better every day, right? And the challenge here is the sheer diversity of like heroes, right? Like every shape and size you can imagine. And that's, what I love about Kajabi is it's not easy to, I guess it's easy to build a product when that your customer is within a certain age and they're tech savvy and they've used these 4 other products before. And then, you could design those types of products all day long. Click these 4 buttons in this sequence and then boom, you're on the other side, right? With Kajabi's customer base, we've got heroes that are thriving at the age of 75, right? And we've got heroes on the other side of that spectrum as well. And how do you make products that resonate and are easy to use and essentially like what helps a fitness trainer that is trying to get sexagenarians stronger, it needs to help dog trainers that are over here in Australia, for instance, right? Like so the playing field is kind of wide and doesn't really have boundaries and stuff, but then that's why we wake up every day and like come to work. It's like, okay, like this is we just have to figure it all out and it's solve problems and but with one guiding light, which is make heroes successful, right?
I think, go ahead, Tamera. I have some comments here. I went to this mental health summit and I met this CEO. His name's Jeet Kumar. He's the CEO of End Time Tech. And his idea is spreading positivity and abundance. And what I would say is if you're building a brand like Rewired 360, rewiring how we learn, lead, and thrive, that is the key to make the client the hero or to make the therapist the maker of their own story, or Jeet Kumar making that positivity abundant culture. And that really has resonated with me. And that's my purpose, is to create a culture where we're in this community together. Everyone that's a Rewired 360 graduate or consultant or trainer, there's a culture there that they know who they are, what they stand for. They're representing that kind of value. And then I'll hand it over to Tamera.
I just think the conversation is amazing. You know what I mean? Like we're getting the uh, inside, however, the helicopter view of what's kind of at the heart of Kajabi, which I think is important. I mean, for me as a therapist, one of the biggest values I have now that I'm practicing. And it sounds like, uh, you are practicing what you're bringing to the community and the business of Kajabi, which is to make heroes. And for me, it's about helping people to slow down enough to lean into what they want and to lean into the value. And so what I hear from this is just that you're sharing the heart in the value in the intention behind the culture in the community. I think something you said that I think is incredible, that the our listening audience here at Journey Through the Eyes, that we want to support them into honing in on, is you don't have to do this alone.
Yeah.
And not only do you not need to do this alone, but you do need a community, and Kajabi offers that. Not only that, leaning into the power of culture.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm hearing from you, Arvind, is that Kajabi is so multifaceted, and its arms are around every human being who's trying to get out here and do something amazing. And it is being proactive in finding out these nooks and crannies and all the things to provide just a one-stop shop solution for whoever you are who are trying to do your great thing in helping the world to bring more light, love, whatever it is, right? One of the things that I found that was awesome that Kathy mentioned and highlighted was the fact that for us as clinicians, there are so many ways that we're trying to spread the message of
Right.
who we are, what we do. And one of those things are having a community that kind of moves us off of Facebook and all the things, because there's so much going on there, right? And sometimes people are just tired and they need um a more what is the word I
Is
want
it
to say?
focused or
Yeah,
more
more focused
intentional?
space. Yeah, more
Yeah.
intentional space. And Kajabi offers you the capacity to build a community. The other thing is the podcasting, right? And I can remember, oh my gosh, Arvin, not to say that we are, talking about the haves or the have-nots, but there is that comparison that Kathy was talking about. Because when we're out here and we're looking for where do we land, where can we build this online virtual office and space, right? You have Thinkific, you have all these different things, but one of the things I had to buy other things to go with it. I had to look, you know, other email lists and other
Mm-hmm.
things to try to add into it. But Kajabi makes that process so easy flowing and gives you all these components. You can build an email list, you can do your podcast, you can build your online brand in the personality and bring your business to life. Because we now know, if we didn't know, I know as a therapist, and we talk about this often, Kathy, about how grad school doesn't teach us to be entrepreneurs and build businesses. I had to make that shift of treating my business like a hobby and start breathing life into it, because it
Yeah.
is a very living, organic thing, right? And so Kajabi opens these windows for life for our businesses to give breath and to open our doors and our arms, the podcast, the community, the email listing, all the things, and to make it, what I hear too is the efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the goal here is um, for creators and heroes like you to focus on your craft and your art, right? Like, what's the point if you now have to drop everything and learn a new system of how do I build email lists and how do I, connect that with this other thing and make that whole thing technical and hard to understand, and that gets in the way of your creative thinking of how to bring value to your clients, right? Like, we want to keep heroes focused on what they do best and get out of the way when it comes to essentially running a business or leaving running the business to us, right? And that's where we've over the years we've got a really great community, the Kajabi community built, exceptionally loyal folks who've been with Kajabi for such a long time, and I have never come across a group of people that are more helpful. And every time a new hero comes in there and asks a question, it's almost like the group celebrates. We got one more, folks, and let's help them and make them one of us, right? So
Not on the Facebook group, is that what you're saying, or is it?
yeah, I mean, there's so many. There's a Facebook group. There's the community itself. There's a community of experts. So there's many different avenues that you could go in and sort of like say, "Hey, I'm new here. How do I get this thing done?" And then you'll feel the love and support from everywhere, right? And even from Kajabi, the company itself, like we've set up Kajabi University, where we'll take you through everything, soup to nuts, from your very first login all the way to, how do I file my taxes if you're a seven-figure hero, right? So I think like that's the when I was talking about the guiding principles, it is all about like, do what you're good at, and don't let the product distract you from the value that you're creating, right? Like, I mean, like, what is a creator after all? You're creating value that no one else has created before, right?
And I think that's very important, because in the therapist market, I always say they teach us how to be therapists, not business owners. And so what my value I bring is, become an expert therapist with a CEO mindset. And so you talked about possibly setting up models to where we can deliver packages to therapists, say, hey, this is to get you
Absolutely.
started, and this might be something that we can do to help you. I love that. I love that we can create that community. We can connect with those experts. What I want to say though is every day, I look for inspiration, and I wanted just to say, how I met you, you emanate that inspiration, right? I'm talking to you about how to launch this app, and I don't know what I'm doing. I've never created a developer account or been on Google, and you're just this kindness, right? Of like, we've got you, it's going to be fine. And I walked you through my business model, and you're like, oh, I get it, and this is where you're going. And then a colleague came on the call, and you explained it to her and said she's going to be the leader in the therapist market, just like that culture, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I am. Like, you just sort of paved that vision for me, and it was just, that's what I want to say is like, have people like that on your team, right? Have people that carry that presence on the team, because that's what's going to keep you involved and engaged. Going to work and not having fun, and your colleagues are just another warm body, that's no fun.
Yeah.
And that's what this In Time Tech with G Kumar, with this abundance and the positivity, and you have to have that sticky factor. And so that was just an amazing experience for me. I love telling that story.
And by the way, that wasn't all rhetorical, because like from our vantage point, we've seen, heroes like you. We see them a lot, and we've seen them all be, incredibly successful. So
Yeah.
I think, that's a little bit of like, take from here and give over there, right? Like, and the abundance mindset is that it's not a zero-sum game, right? Like there's enough for everyone, and there's enough success here in this like world we're living in, and there's no reason not to share, and be kind, and
Yes.
be thankful, and just go keep making forward progress, right? Like that's the thing.
And that's one of the reasons why I can say, with my confidence in what we do here, like, yes, go to Kajabi. I mean, I've looked at other practices and looked at other, models for uploading courses and those things, but that's the sticky factor. Like, no, we want to be in this community, because this is what the culture is. This is the brand. And so that's just so important.
Absolutely.
My question with all of this, it sounds just like support. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the time that we're living in, especially when you're trying to build a business to solve problems, right? If your heart is really to be the kind of hero, right? And I just love that. I love that that's the lens that Kajabi sees those of us who are coming to Kajabi to build our vision in our businesses, right? You all look at us as heroes. To me, that's so important. It's almost like, Kathy, how we get taught, how you see your client is going to determine how you treat them.
Right.
And that is incredible to me to hear that that level of intention that Kajabi has to see the people who are coming to them for services and help and support. You're looked at as a hero, someone who's trying to make a difference. And then you have this team of cheerleaders, of experts and professionals who are here to help guide you so you don't have to do it all alone. And then there's not these carrots,
Yeah.
right? That, okay, if you want this, if you need help with this, then you need to pay for this service. I know for me, getting started on the journey and not having a doggone clue. I tell people I've been building my business from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay. And I heard about Kajabi, few years ago, but just too busy minded to really lean into, you know what I'm saying? Trying to, I thought I had to do it alone. And it wasn't until Kathy said, have you thought about Kajabi? I was like, you know what, I did, and I went ahead on, I went back in, started clearing my plate to get, as you said, Arvind, intentional about my business, stop treating it like a hobby, realize that I am here as a skilled therapist to provide solutions to help my community. And
Yes.
when I did that and I started reaching out to the hero community on Facebook, which is awesome and amazing. And then also just the live support there, you all have a library. I don't know if people know that, right? I don't know how many times I was on other platforms and was, and it took hours to try to get somebody to help. First of all, you have a library so that you can be what I like to call proactive and take the initiative to learn. They even have a Kajabi University. Okay. So you can go to school to learn, okay, empower yourself. And then there's this immediate support, not only just where you can talk to an agent, they've always been so helpful, so kind. Y'all, for our listening audience, I'm dropping gold nuggets already. Okay, about the value in all of these critical things that I believe we just need and that Kajabi offers us. And the kindness. Um,
Yeah.
there's always this attentiveness and this patience. Take your time, take your time, of course. Send me a screen. And I'm like, okay, this I can work and still do and get some help and get support. Um, and so all this incredible value, what I want to ask before we have to get out of your Friday, right? Is Armin, for the new, for the for the therapist who is becoming an entrepreneur that just doesn't know, what would you say are the three things that are critical must-haves for them to build their website, or just all the things? What are the three things that Kajabi offers that you believe that they need to have to get their start going? Okay, if that's clear. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, other than listening to this podcast,
Yay.
I think you have to have a presence, right? Like people need to be able to find you, they can meet you, but then they have to remember something and then go back to it. So I think having something that is unique and memorable about you, your brand, your personality is helpful. And I think like working on that, and sort of like crafting that, and whether it is embodied in like your social or like your website, or all of them tied together, sort of like that digital presence, right? That's sort of like the lighthouse that's kind of like circling and like allows people to find you. So I would say like spend the time and search and find that. And then like once people can, sort of like find you and come to your doorstep, it is the second piece I would say is give them a hit of value right away, right? And it could be free, it could be like very nominally priced, but the value has to be outsized. And what that does is essentially it builds trust. It's like, I already like this brand and this personality and this person, and they've welcomed me by giving stuff away, and this is incredibly valuable already to me, right? And then that kind of like starts to build that bond between
Yeah.
your community member and you as the hero. And then the next phase of that is nurturing, right? So you have to being a creator is a full-time job, and this is you have to be intentional about that and make sure that that is your number one priority, right? And it is through the lens of like waking up every day and figuring out like what value am I going to bring into these people's lives today, right? And thinking through that and essentially nurturing these people that now have developed this bond, right? And eventually they will convert and go on the other side as being a client or a paying member of your community and so on, right? Like, so I think like that's the 1, 2, 3, if you will. And we have this notion, we've sort of like productized that in a funnel, right? Like that's what it is. And it's basically using all the tools, social media. If you're creating audio or video content, it's a matter of like doing a webinar once in a while, like sort of like dropping all of your knowledge in a webinar, for instance, that's free for anyone that's signed up, and then using that recorded webinar now to this Kajabi tool called Creator Studio that we just launched. What that tool does is you feed it one piece of video content and it'll spit out 40 different pieces of media. It'll create a blog post for you. It'll create a newsletter. It'll create up to 10 short form snippets that you could post directly to your social. It can so essentially you can instruct it to do whatever you want, and it's a really nifty tool. It comes with Adobe Express package, so this thing can be as professional looking as someone who's spending $1 million in a studio, right? So that's the kind of like so we've visualized heroes kind of like walking this path, and we've
Yeah.
kind of given them tools every step of the way, so that they can essentially like knock it out of the park.
I'm curious, that was a beautiful description. What I'm curious about is, could you talk a little bit about this introduction of the app and kind of
Right.
your
Yeah.
role in that? Because I took a digital marketing class and they were talking about, you can go to the website, but it's really the apps that get to the consumers. Can you
Right.
talk just kind of about your role in
Yeah.
that? And we're going to be launching our app and you're part of that. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Amazing. We're so excited for your app. Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's about meeting your members where they are, right? And for better or worse, like people spend like 80% of their time on mobile is spent within apps, right? It's not on web browsers. And the thing about apps is the engagement is much higher. It is just a tap away. A purchase is just looking at the phone and 2 clicks, and that's a purchase. And whether that leads to impulse buys, or you can look at it as like it finally clicked and nothing stands in the way, and I'm in this now, right? Like so I think for all those reasons, I think mobile is relevant and important regardless of your where your members are. because, you know, everyone has a phone, they're inside of apps, and, you know, who wants to remember a website and, you know, go to your social, click a link and go elsewhere
Yeah.
when, you know, the app can be like top of mind and it's an icon. And that's, again, you know, the nice thing about like our app is like we've worked really hard. And, you know, if you ask me what my role was, it is to essentially bring the price down as low as possible so that as many heroes can benefit from it, right?
Yeah.
And I'd say like the $89 a month is the lowest price in the industry.
Okay.
And it is also completely done for you, which means, you know, you're not a fancy graphic designer, no worries. We have one. Kajabi has, you know, some of the
I
best
love the
designers.
partnership, you know?
So yeah,
Like,
and we're
support
like,
me.
do not worry. We've got the, you know, we'll build you an icon that will, you know, stand the test of time and like, you know, be catchy and you know, stands out amongst the million apps that people have on their phone and all of that, right? Like, so we've got your back, you know, every step of the way, right from, you know, you obviously name it, it's your brand, but if you want, you could outsource that too. And we're happy to take a stab at this. And this entire process is collaborative, right? So we'll do everything from, you know, your graphic design to building the app and, you know, getting it certified by Apple and
Yes,
Google.
I know, right?
And at that
Like, oh my
point,
God, I'm on Apple, I'm on Google. Like, I feel like a superstar. I don't
you
know.
have arrived,
You know,
truly,
it just
right?
feels
Like,
like, whoa, I was like, I don't know. It's like my vision, you know, for what I could be is coming true. I don't know why it makes me so happy. It
I
does.
mean, ultimately, those are all the proof points, you know, the generation of today needs in order to, you know, you're meeting their bar of like, okay, is this thing legit or not,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And for many people, it is unfortunately these things like, oh, they have an app and that's good enough for me, right?
yeah. I know. That's
But
a good point. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it legitimizes your brand in a way that I think, you know, websites used to do back in the 2000s, maybe, right? Like, but now it's like everyone has a website. And now it's like, you know, it's the app and, you know, having a mobile presence. And once you have the app, like really the value you get as a hero is you know, unbelievable, because you're able to send push notifications, right? If waking up people in the middle of the night is your thing, you can do that, right? Or, you know, you could essentially be that, you know, first hit of happiness that you deliver to their phones first thing in the day when they wake up, right?
Yes.
And getting them to be positive and whatnot, right?
Even as therapists, right? We're always busy, we're always on the go. So what I love is that we can listen to our trainings on the go. I have twins that are 4 and a 7-year-old. I can listen in my car when I'm driving.
Absolutely.
And so I just love that mobility. I can listen to, you know, the customers can listen to one of the courses just on the go. And
Mhm.
you know, my on-demand products are far more successful than any of the in-person live ones. But as therapists, we love in person. We love, you know, to talk. I think that's really transformed in the pandemic. So just the
Mhm.
access to those on-demand products, I'm super excited for.
It's all asynchronous, right? Like, I mean, and works out both ways for heroes, because ultimately you can only scale so much with a live product, right? Like, you don't have 10 of you
Exactly.
being able to schedule for 100 people, right? So I think that's where, you know, going back to where we started is like, you know, how does one start out? You start with coaching, then you build in, layer in your community, continue to, you know, deliver asynchronous value there. And then you start to scale yourself by recording your first digital course. And at that point, you know, you're sleeping and people are consuming your course, right? Like, that is the
So
goal.
good. I'm making money while I sleep. That's a passive income, right?
Well, I'd like to think of it as, you know, you're dreaming up your next, you know, sort of like hit of value
Yeah.
for, you know, your members, right? Like, so you need that good sleep so that you can wake up and say, get that aha moment and start to go right back to work and, you know, start creating that value, right?
I
Where,
just love it.
do you have a social media presence? Where can people find you if they're just super interested? Where do you expect them
Yeah,
to?
I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay. And so it's just Arvind Srinivasan.
Arvind Srinivasan. And
And I love LinkedIn. If you haven't got a profile, it's super important. I love seeing people that I've actually met, and so I'll put that in the chat, in the show notes. But we just really value you. I value everything that you're bringing. Just that connection that you made with me. I was just so excited to have you. It's like, oh, this is so fun. He's my people. He's part of my tribe. I don't know. It's just this affinity. So I'm just super grateful to have that energy, because that's what we're all about.
It is, and it's I go back to that journey that we're both on, and how the paths intersected, and it was it was destined, right?
Yeah, it was destined. Yeah, now you got us.
Well, I am so grateful, so thankful for all of the, it's a difference for me when you meet people who are, can I say like this? There are people who are just doing the job. And then you have people who are out here doing the work, and I think it's a difference between doing the job. Let me go, and then people who are doing the work, who are really connected from a heart-centered, intentional space, who are out here to provide, like you said, value, to solve problems. You know what I mean? And I love the whole, just everything that you've been sharing and talking about the journey. And one of the things that I just want to hone in on before we leave out was you sharing that, we need presence, and that's what it's about, an inviting presence that speaks to people. And I'm hoping that our listening audience and our community will begin to lean in and to think about the incredible heart-centered space of what led them to not just doing the job of being a therapist, but carrying the heart to do the work of the therapist and to do the work of therapy for our community in order to solve problems. And that for me is interpreted as bringing a little more light, love, wisdom, help, and support to community. And so this is so aligned with who we are as Journey Through the Eyes, who Kathy and I are as women who are on this this wild journey of becoming heroes in the world, right?
You already are.
I so appreciate that and can receive that. What I want to ask is to share again any takeaways, Arvind, that you want to share with us before we gotta, surrender you to your Friday. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like what you just said in that last bit was it struck a chord, right? Like people doing their jobs versus doing the work. And I think, I've certainly been guilty of that in, my past life. And I think it's about, you transition through as you are, like progress in your journey, to finding like what really makes you tick, what gets you out of bed, right? Like, and it's that ikigai, finding your ikigai as that was an exercise I went through as well. And then ultimately, working on cutting edge technology, or like being able to scale to reach 1 billion people, and all of that, like looks flashy and like a moth to the flame. I used to fly into the fire, and ultimately, like it was much simpler than that. At the very heart of the ikigai, it was all about like, I love helping people, right? And once I discovered that, and essentially it's emancipating in a way where you can say the recipe to being successful is really that simple, right? Like it is, can I help this person? How can I help this person? And go ahead and help this person, right? Like,
I was so thrilled when you did that for me, because you were like, oh, I've seen it, you can do this, we see your potential. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's real, the dream is coming true. Like that dream, that moment of realization, I was like, oh my gosh, even like this person that sees it believes in me. I'm like, oh, this is so amazing.
Oh, this is just the beginning, Kathy.
Yay.
We're gonna
keep you posted on what happens.
I just love it. I'm so grateful, so thankful that you truly honored us with your presence and your wisdom. Um, and, you know, we're just grateful. We're grateful, and so many beautiful takeaways for our listening audience and just those who may come by, journey through the eyes. I want to just say thank you to everyone. And this is one of those that you definitely need your pencil, your notepad to catch the golden nuggets that were dropped along the way in this conversation and apply them. Don't just write them, but apply them. And then reach out to the folks at Kajabi. And I'm telling you, there's a team there to help you. Kathy, I'm going to toss this hot mic over to you. And don't
Yes.
forget to tell them to subscribe and where to find us.
Like and subscribe. We're uploading our podcast to YouTube, to our YouTube channel at Journey Podcast 360. You can find our episodes published every Friday at 6. We will drop a new episode. We're in season 2 now, so we're so excited for that. And it's just been a journey. You can find us at rewired360.com. Tamera Arise Psychotherapy. We're also on LinkedIn. Like and subscribe to the channel to keep it going. And we're just sending so much gratitude and so much encouragement to our listening audience. We've got you, and we're here, and we will see you again next time. Thank you to our guest, Arvind Srinivasan. We appreciate you, your wisdom, and your space. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, Arvind.
Bye.